My name is Lena Hart. I'm 32. For years, my family stared at my life, penthouse windows, weekends abroad, a sleek car, and tried to make it fit the salary they decided I earned. At Sunday dinners, my mother would smile and say, "We're only concerned." My father, Graham, didn't smile. He studied me like a spreadsheet, certain a discrepancy would eventually appear. My brother, Ethan, a litigator, asked the hard questions. My sister, Priya, softened them with a hand on my wrist, but the meaning stayed the same. Who's paying you? I learned the rules of our family early. Information was ammunition. Ethan's achievements earned applause. Priya's accomplishments brought praise. Mine, pure mathematics, made Graham's eyes glaze over. "What will you do with that?" he'd ask, disappointed before I could answer. So I stopped talking. I took an analyst job, negotiated equity, coded at night, invested wisely, and built a firm no one in my family ever bothered to notice. Then I made one mistake. I bought something they could see. A penthouse in a doorman building came on the market. I wanted a space that felt like mine, so I wired the money and signed the papers. At the next family dinner, Priya asked where I'd moved. I gave her the address. Graham's fork froze. "You rent there?" "I bought it," I said. "Top floor." His laugh was cold. "On your salary?" "I have other income." "Prove it." "Bank statements." "Tax returns." "No." 2 weeks later, a courier intercepted me in my lobby and handed me a thick packet. Graham was suing me. Fraud. Money laundering. A request to freeze my assets because the daughter he'd labeled unambitious couldn't possibly have earned her wealth legally. I read the complaint twice, then called my lawyer. Devon Chu studied the petition and tapped the first page. "Your father went for the throat," he said. "Asset freeze, bank subpoenas, a 10-year forensic audit." The case title, Hart vs. Hart, looked like a bruise. "Can a judge freeze everything?" I asked. "They can request it," Devon said. "If we don't provide context, their story wins on optics." So I did something I'd never done at family dinners. I opened the files. 10 years of tax returns. The SEC registration for Hart pattern strategies. Client agreements with names redacted. The cap table for Verdict Atlas, the legal tech company I joined after a professor invited me into a consulting project. 30% equity. Graham's lawyers moved fast. Motions flooded the docket. Banks received subpoenas. My employer's HR called with careful questions. By the second week, a business journal published a story about mysterious wealth, pairing my face with words like fraud and laundering. My inbox filled with accusations. I answered only what I had to and kept working. I slept in fragments, waking to notifications that felt like fists pounding on my door. 3 days before court, Devon asked, "Who's representing your father?" I checked the signature. Line and felt everything click. "Richard Mororo," I said. "Mororo and Klein." Devon's expression sharpened. "They license Verdict Atlas," I said. "They're one of our clients." I sat in my car, opened a secure chat, and sent a single message to my fund manager. "Withdraw our capital position in Mororo and Klein. Execute immediately." The morning of the hearing, Devon and I crossed the courthouse plaza carrying a box of evidence. Inside the lobby, I spotted Graham's back. Straight, confident, certain. I walked right past him. Courtroom 3 smelled faintly of coffee. Graham sat beside Richard Mororo. Ethan and Priya were behind them. My mother twisted a tissue in her hands. Mororo stood and described my life as impossible on my reported salary. He argued that my assets should be frozen. Judge Marisol Kwan looked at me. "Miss Hart, do you dispute these expenses?" "No, Your Honor," I said. "I dispute the assumptions." Devon stood. "We're prepared to provide context." He submitted years of tax returns, SEC filings, audits, and the records for Hart pattern strategies. Total income last year, $4.6 million, he said. Taxes paid. No investigations. No irregularities. Graham's chair creaked. Mororo flipped through the pages, irritation slowly giving way to alarm. Even if these filings exist, he argued, where does the money come from? Devon presented another exhibit. Verdict Atlas. Miss Hart owns a 30% equity stake. Mororo sneered. Devon slid one final document across the table. Your firm's master services agreement. Annual value, $4.2 million. Mororo's phone buzzed. The color drained from his face. I spoke quietly. I texted my fund manager before we walked into court. We withdrew our capital position in Mororo & Klein. I met his eyes. I don't bankroll people who accuse me of felonies. The judge's gavel cracked. Order. Judge Kwan's voice turned icy. The motion to dismiss is granted with prejudice. The plaintiff will pay the defendant's legal fees. In the courthouse corridor, Graham reached for me. Lena, You sued your daughter because you couldn't imagine her succeeding, I said. That's the truth. I stepped away. For the first time, he heard how small his certainty sounded. That night, city lights shimmered beyond my penthouse windows. I emailed Verdict Atlas. Terminate Mororo & Klein under the 90-day clause. Then I replied to a message from a young mathematician who had asked if numbers could build a life. My answer was simple. Yes. And guard your work, and your peace, from anyone who treats proof as ammunition.